Hi and welcome to a brand new episode of the Indulge podcast with me, Romal Laishram. And like every week, I have someone super interesting on the show with me. Today, you might not believe it, but I have one of my favorite singers with me in the studio. I've got Nakul Abhyankar. We've heard him for his amazing hits from films like Cobra, Ponniyin Selvan. The list goes on. I'm so happy I have him in the studio today. Welcome to the Indulge podcast.
Thank you so much, Roman.
I'm so happy you found time for us. I know we've been going back and forth and we finally got you in the studio, so I'm really happy. Let's quickly just get into the interview right away, because we've always wanted to know that someone like you, a boy who is from a city like Mangalore, not necessarily one of the most famous cities when it comes for music, it's not a Bangalore or Chennai or a Bombay or anything, we talks about a music industry. So how did you break into the music industry? When did you realize you'd like to do music? Tell us everything.
Music always ran in our family, right from our grandfathers to their fathers. So, but they were all agriculturists and purohits. Apparently, we are migrants from Maharashtra into Mangalore, which happened like 300 years back.
I figured from the name.
Yeah. So apparently, that's how it is. And whatever profession they were practicing there, they found a piece of land near Dharmasthala, and they all settled down and started doing agriculture. And music, art, craft, all that was there in their blood, and they kept practicing that as a hobby. And that just trickled down to generations, and I think it was very strong in me and my brother. My brother is 6 years older to me. As a kid, I've grown up listening to him sing songs and practice, because he used to learn a lot of Carnatic classical music back in Bangalore. And my parents were very interested in teaching us music. Though they are not musicians, but my maternal grandfather was a Haridasa.
Oh, lovely.
And my paternal grandfather was into Yakshagana.
Oh, very nice.
And all self-taught. And they would play many instruments. And like my maternal grandfather, his tanpura, his violin, his tabla, the harmonium that he used, all that still exists. And
how lovely.
we fixed those, and it's still there in our native place.
Nice.
And hence that interest was always there. And as soon as I think my parents realized we both were inclined towards music, they never stopped us from participating in competitions or getting us a new instrument.
Got it.
Whatever they could afford back then. So that's how the childhood was. And as soon as you're a singer, and as a kid you can sing, and there are people looking at you and appreciating what you can do, you want to do that more.
Absolutely.
And I think that's how it all started. And like one thing that always hits my mind is Einstein's theory of relativity.
Okay.
He says that when you sit with a girl for an hour, it feels like a minute. But when you sit on a hot stuff for 1 minute, it feels like an hour. Music was something like that for me. Like whenever I sat with my books studying for my exams, it just felt like forever.
But music.
But as soon as I started singing, or there was a synthesizer at home, which we bought after my brother won in Close Up and Fracture.
Okay.
Z, the one which Anu Kapoor used to host.
Okay, wow.
So I would just spend hours and hours with it, and the time would just pass like that. I would feel like, oh, sham ho gayi already. So that's what music did to me as a kid.
Very nice.
And there was no one in the industry from our family side, but that dream was there.
How lovely.
That all our idols were Shan, Sonu Nigam, Shankar Mahadevan, A.R. Rahman.
Great names.
And we always thought like, oh, we can become like that. We can sing, so why not become like them?
Absolutely.
That was the dream which we both had when we grew up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, considering you come from a Marathi background, I think a lot of Marathis focus a lot more on Hindustani music.
Yes.
But as a family to go into, you said Harikatha and Yakshagana and Carnatic. I mean, of course, you were living in the south of India.
Yeah.
But was there ever that kind of a question that maybe you should focus on Hindustani and not take Carnatic? Or was it a natural progression towards Carnatic?
I think it was a very natural progression towards Carnatic, because, as I said, the migration had happened like 200 to 300 years ago, and whoever was there in and around the native place, they would either practice Carnatic classical music or Purandhara Geete and stuff like that.
Got it.
But like, for an instance, there's a story where when my mom was a kid, there was a Carnatic classical musician who traveled all the way from Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
So back in the days, people would just visit from village to village, stay for 2-3 years in a place, and then go to another place.
Absolutely.
So that way, one such Tamilian, I forgot his name, mom remembers his name. He came and stayed in our native place for like 5-6 years.
Wow.
Taught the kids Carnatic classical music there, and then he went to the next village.
Sounds like out of a fairy tale.
Yeah, it does. So that's how I think Carnatic classical was very, very natural for.
Nice.
And bhajans and kirtans, all that
Of course,
kept happening. The only Maharashtrian part in our family was the language that we spoke and the culture that we followed. Otherwise, everything was pretty much South Indian.
How nice. What is the first song you remember performing? Either, could be a pop song, a film song, or a Carnatic piece, whatever.
I think it was one of the very first competitions that I was a part of. It was a Janapada song.
Oh, wow.
Mallige Huagi.
Beautiful song.
That was one of the first. That's my memory.
How long?
On stage.
Nice. So now from coastal Karnataka, and then you ended up being one of the most, right now, the top playback singers in the South and also in Hindi. How was that journey, and how did you break into an industry that is filled with so much competition? So how did you break into it?
Well, it's a mix of hard work and fluke, I guess. Because it's so tough to actually, even get access to someone who is already big in the industry. Like, you can't, how do you just go to a music composer's door, knock and say, hey, I'm a singer, give me an opportunity. And for him to actually spare his 5-10 minutes.
True.
Because as a composer, I know how precious time is for me as a composer. And it's practically impossible to, at least back then I used to feel like that.
Okay.
How can I just walk to, let's say, Shankar Sanla's door and say, hey, I'm a singer, I want to work.
True.
That sounds like straight out of Disney movie.
True.
If it happens that way. So I just didn't know what to do. But being in engineering college and singing in many competitions and then participating in reality shows.
Nice.
I was part of Zee Kannada Saregama season 7, which I won.
Okay.
So and then I went to Hindi as well. Hindi Zee Saregama.
True.
And all these instances made me believe that I can actually become something if I try.
Lovely.
And in the meantime, my brother kept trying for playback in Kannada, but it kind of didn't work out for him because his interest was very different from what Kannada was giving back then. And it so happened that he got into IT industry, he became very busy with that. Then I told, you know what, we used to do a lot of shows in Bangalore. In every club we have performed in Bangalore. We have done more than like 500 shows.
Okay.
So we were like really, really into it. And then one day I said, I finished my engineering, I've been working I was in Robert Bosch, but it just doesn't feel like the right thing for me, And before it's too late that I get trapped into the whole salary business, I want to get out of it and at least try, so that there's no regrets later.
Absolutely.
So hence I quit and I started studying music in KM Conservatory.
Okay, lovely.
Chennai. Yeah.
Nice place to
have
a head start.
And it was the right time for me because that's when KM actually started picking up.
Oh, lovely.
Because till then they had a smaller campus.
I remember.
And then
it was just a building, I remember.
Yeah, it was in Sir Studio, but in AM Studio first floor. And when I joined is when the new building's inauguration happened and there was a proper structure to the entire school, and then the curriculum was fixed and it was a really nicely designed diploma course.
Lovely.
So that way I turned out to be lucky. It was like rightly done,
perfect
set for me. So those 3 years I put my heart out and studied.
Thank God for that.
Yeah. And meantime, because of these reality shows, I got some contacts with. I started working with Raghu Dikshit, Manikanth Kadri, and Giridhar Diwar in Kannada. And in the third year, somehow Rahman sir noticed me, and I was a part of his vocal jazz band.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And from there, he started noticing me, started calling me for chorus sessions, and then made me sing some tracks. And then finally, few songs were approved as a final track, and that was like one big thing.
I always want to know the scratches that singers do. So often you're doing the scratch and someone else is singing it.
No, it happens because it's not just to give an opportunity to youngsters or whatever. so many lyrical versions happen, so many tune changes happen. So every time you can't call the main singer, right? So you just, okay, there's this guy who sings well, who's a student, you don't have to pay him much also, get him. And if it turns out to be good, then that's what happened with one of these recent films called Lal Salam, where Rahman sir made me sing one song, and then for I don't know what reason they made Sid Sri Ram sing the song as well, which was great. So they released that version as audio, but director was hell bent on keeping my version in the film.
Lovely. Okay.
And so if you watch the film, the Ye Pulle song is in my voice.
Oh, not in Sid Sri Ram.
No.
Interesting.
And people are texting me saying, "Hey, are you the one singer for the film version? Where can I find this?"
They release it.
I hope so too.
Yeah, they usually do this later.
So this is what happened with my first song for Sir as well.
Nice.
Sarkar.
Yes.
For Vijay. And that's how it kept on rolling, and then he started realizing that I program as well. So I started music producing for him.
Lovely.
And then started mixing. So I ended up mixing Param Sundari from Mimi.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Very nice song, yeah. Amazing. So that's been an amazing journey. Something that really stands out about you, and I say this to every singer who can do a good job, it seems you're linguistically very strong. So even though you are Marathi by origin, your Kannada, of course, since you grew up here, has to be fantastic. But your Tamil is also great, and your Telugu is also pretty. I mean, it's pretty authentic. So as a singer, what are the kind of efforts you take to sound as authentically as a speaker of that language? Because music is so important.
Right.
We know of an age, maybe say 20 years ago, where if a North Indian singer sang a South Indian song, we knew it. We knew he was an outsider, right? But that is slowly changing.
Yes.
Today, singers like Shreya Ghoshal and yourself, I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you'll take a lot of effort to sound authentic.
Oh yes.
So how much of an effort do you take, and how do you do it?
We set the yard very high for us when we walk into the vocal booth itself. First of all, we don't walk into the vocal booth without getting the words right.
Super.
There'll be a lyricist and there'll be a director. Languages like Telugu or Kannada are very straightforward that way. But Tamil, it's very tricky because you have a colloquial way of saying the word. You have like
sounds that are
either you say innum konjam or you can say inno konjam.
So
and then the lyricist and director will have an argument saying no, it has to be this. Then they'll think no, it has to be this. So it's very confusing. So as a singer, you should know both. Chollum, sollum, all those substitutions that happen.
True.
And for me, I think I was really blessed because I grew up in Bangalore. By 3rd, 4th standard, I could speak like 5 or 6 languages.
Okay.
And everything from different, few from Dravidian side, few from Devanagari side. Marathi, Hindi from Devanagari, Tulu, Konkani, and Konkani is from Devanagari. Tulu, Kannada from the southern part. And English, though. You just know it.
How comfortable are you with Malayalam? Or is that final frontier?
No. Malayalam is like, if I can sing Malayalam song in like 45 minutes without any mistake,
you've arrived.
That's like my biggest achievement.
I think that's with all singers. Malayalam is this big worry that they have. Pronunciation is so important.
Even like Shreya ma'am was telling about how tough it is to pronounce Malayalam.
But she does a fantastic
job.
Amazing. So with a lot of singers today, it's very important for them to have some sort of training. At one point of time, I remember we had people saying that, oh no, you have to have a classical training, either from the Hindustani style or the Carnatic style or the Western style. But today, I think a lot of music programmers, directors, producers are okay with people as long as they can hold a tune.
Right.
Personally, what do you feel? Do you think an education in music, of course it's essential, of course it helps you, but how important do you think it is for you in the career of being a singer?
I think the definition of producing music or composing music for film has evolved and changed quite a bit now compared to what work was done in Mughal-e-Azam, for example. And if you see what work was done in Gully Boy, for example, like they're two different worlds apart, One completely comes from classical world and this Gully Boy is completely new genre, hardcore hip hop, underground hip hop. So the definition has changed, really. I think these days you should be super versatile.
Nice.
Rather than just stick to Hindustani classical music and be extremely good at it, but not know anything else. I think it's more to do with, I think jack of all is preferred over master of one these days.
True.
But that's how I feel.
True.
especially for film music and even independent stuff, because music is very intuitive. Music is not something that you learn and only then you have music. You know, music is second nature to human beings.
Absolutely.
Like language, you don't have to learn your mother tongue. You just know it when you grow up.
True.
And you don't even remember how you have learned your mother tongue. So music is something like that.
Okay.
Like, I don't remember learning music. I just remember singing, or I just got harmonium. Some notes I tried, I could play the tunes.
Lovely.
There's no teaching as such. Then there's just exploration of the art form. So that way I feel music is all about expressing line emotions in different ways, and you have a different life experience and you have a different story to tell. I have a different story to tell.
True.
And we tell it through different musical forms. And I think we need to learn, and we do learn our life and life lessons, and along with that, if you're a musician, you kind of start joining dots as well, life with music, and then you start learning music.
Lovely.
Yeah, but training, of course, it's a plus point. Especially if as a composer, it just makes you more versatile, makes you more quicker, arranging harmonies, and like you can't ask someone who is not a learned person to orchestrate a piece.
Absolutely.
You need people who have learned to make. Like John Williams is John Williams because of his whole life experience and education. Whereas if a person doesn't know how to write for an orchestra but who can do beautiful tunes, his life ends there.
Absolutely.
And he will be dependent on someone else to take his music way beyond what he can imagine.
Got it. Yeah.
So I think that way music will give you immense strength to be independent and put your heart out and put every note of yours in put your heart and soul, basically.
Lovely.
Like how Ilayaraja sir or Rahman sir, they do most of their work, and that is purely out of education. And that kind of inspired me even as a kid. Even though I could sing, I was always interested in how do they program, how do they write those strings, or how do they record such nice rhythm sections, or the entire, like, remove the voice. Then what is that rest of the thing, and how do they write it? So that was very interesting for me. And hence that led me to learn piano and like move away from the vocals and start exploring other things also.
How nice.
Yeah.
I'm in conversation with Nakul Abhyankar. This is the Indulge podcast, and now we're going to talk about a completely different side of his career. You've moved into music production. You also now are a musician yourself, as you just said in the previous answer. You learned to play the piano and I'm sure many other instruments. It's always great when a composer is also a singer, or a singer is always a composer. You can do both and you understand both of the words, right? But beyond and above all of that, do you think that there's going to be one day when you are willing to put the mic down and become just a composer?
No.
Or will singing be always your first?
No. It's like, can I breathe only through one nostril in my life?
How beautiful.
That's not going to happen.
Very nice, very nice.
There's no higher and lower in that, both are.
I'm happy. I'm very happy to hear that. Since you're now a composer, you're going to be dealing with all kinds of music. As a singer, I guess because of voice and how people assume your voice to be, there might be a limited scope. Because people say he sounds great here, he sounds great there.
Right.
But as a composer, there's no limit.
There's no limit.
So is there something right now that's exciting you? Something in the music world that's exciting? Something that you want to try? Something that you want to experiment with? Anything that's on your mind right now?
A lot of genres, actually.
Okay.
A lot of new genres.
The first top 3 right now that's on your head that you'd love to experiment with.
I want to try electro.
Okay.
Electro music is something that's in my mind, which defies all the classical rules of writing music, and just play around with sound designing. And
very nice. Okay.
That's one of my aims. And second one is to do a completely electro fusion of Indian music.
Very nice.
Like very, very pure form of Indian music with a completely different background of electronic music. Not fusion.
Very nice.
Not the general term of fusion that is coined, where there's a drummer, there's a guitarist, the typical rock band playing with sitar. Not that.
Basically, create a new sound.
Altogether. And third one is try to experiment something like a song for a film with just voice, nothing else.
Oh.
Or just one piano, nothing else.
Yeah, people have done the other way around. Instrumentals, but just voice.
Just voice. It can be humming. You don't even need to have lyrics.
That might be just the most
Yeah, if the
beautiful thing
visuals are
I've
so
heard of.
strong, you just need like one beautiful voice singing one tune, and that's it. That's your score.
I really hope you get that project. I'd love to see how that sounds. We're in conversation with Nakul Abhyankar, and right now we're going to go into a little bit more about his personal life, about his love for music, and all of those kind of things. You're in the studio here with your wife. Of course, we can't show on camera, but we heard that you all have a beautiful love marriage, and you all met each other long, long ago.
Yeah.
When you think about music and your wife and the love that you have for her, is there any song that comes to your mind?
Oh yeah, one song that keeps ringing in my mind is Satya.
Oh wow! The new version or the old?
No, the old version, please.
Very nice. Okay. And as someone who sings and understands music, are you also the kind of person who has music playing in your head for every situation in life?
Oh yeah, always.
And who's your go-to musician? Like who's the top musician for all of your life situations? Like I think for me it's Ilaiyaraaja A.R. Rahman, but I don't know.
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
For me, it is either 60s, 70s, Kannada, Hindi songs.
How lovely.
Or new songs. And the songs will just come out from my mouth, and I'll just alter the lyrics and
Lovely.
suit it to that situation, and like it just comes out like that.
Nice. Out of all the singers that you have been inspired by or you've heard, who are those singers? And I'm not asking to make a distinction or a choice, because I know that's tough for you as a singer, but who are those voices that like you heard them for the first time and they stuck with you and they've affected you in some way, where you either copied a style or you've copied a nuance or something like that? Anyone from across genres?
I think one of the verses was Shafqat Amanat Ali's.
Wow. Okay.
That's very unique at that point, and there was so much of soul and feel, and in Hindi term they say dard.
Wow. Okay.
There was a lot of it in his voice, and like his album called Fuzon, which he had done, and he had sung Mithila.
Yep.
All those were such beautiful numbers, and I think his voice made it very, very special.
Lovely.
And I kept listening to these songs on loop for him.
Lovely.
And there was a point when I tried to sing like him also. Of course, couldn't. My voice is like very, very different from his voice. Yet it did something.
Very nice. Out of all the actors that you have lent your voice to as a singer across Kannada, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, whatever, who do you think your voice suits the most?
Oh God.
When you watch them on screen and you're like, is that my voice? Maybe it's their voice, I don't know.
Not too sure actually.
You take some time on that.
Yeah, I will come back to that.
Yeah. We'll quickly go into a section where I'm going to ask him a few questions completely about his choices of music and the kind of music he listens to. Let's start off with the very beginning, because you are a classical musician and rags are the soul of all classical music. Either a raga or a rag, a Carnatic or a Hindustani, something that you absolutely love, like you think is one of the most exquisitely composed ragas.
I think my personal favorites is Yaman.
Okay.
Just makes me cry.
It is very pathos.
Yeah.
So.
No, not just pathos. It just makes you so emotional.
Absolutely.
You can be happy, sad, anything, and you can bend that raga so easily into such different emotions. You sing Yaman, you change the Rishabh from Shuddh to Komal, then it becomes Purya Kalyan, and that has a completely different vibe. And then keeping that constant, you just change your Dhaivat to Komal Dhaivat, it becomes Purya Dhanashri.
Wow.
And then it becomes something else altogether. So, like you take that Kalyan thought and Yaman Rag and you just play around with it, and it has those intense, sharp colors and of emotions. It drives me crazy.
Taking that same thought process, if you had to define your life through a raga, which raga do you think it would be?
Life through my raga is very simple. Maybe Bilawal. Very simple life, no complications.
Okay,
straight.
Nice. I'm very happy. Like I'm very happy that that's the rag you chose. Now, since again music is such an important part of your life, if there's one song from across time, across genre, across language that you wish you could have lent your voice to, not saying you would do a better job, just you're like, I wish I had sung that song. Any song like that that comes to your mind immediately?
There's so many. I'm not blank, but there's like 100 songs in my mind where I wish I could sing those.
The recent most one that you came across, maybe from a contemporary, yeah, that would be easy.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one of the songs I really liked was Mitwa or मैं तेनु समझावा. All beautiful songs. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, and again talking about music itself, if there is one particular raga that makes you immensely happy, like it's a switch on and a switch off, you listen to that and your mood is back, what would that raga be?
Okay. There's a raga in Carnatic called Kadana Kutuhala.
Okay.
That
It has such a lovely name.
yeah, that just makes my mood so
Nice. Super. I know you have a lot of productions coming out. You have a lot of compositions coming out. Could you tell our audience and your fans who are listening to this show,
Right.
what can they look forward to in the month or the coming months?
Right.
Songs or albums or anything that they can expect?
Okay, so 2024 has started with a bang for me, and one movie is already out called Juni, and second film called For Registration is releasing on 23rd
Okay.
of Feb.
Okay.
And one of the most exciting projects for me is called BC BC Ice Cream
What a lovely name. Okay.
by my friends. His
Okay.
name is Arvind Shastri, is the director.
Okay. Okay.
And starring Arvind Iyer and Siri.
I already like this project.
Yeah, it's too wacky and I love it.
Amazing.
The film is filled with 8 songs, which doesn't happen these days.
I know.
And it was just great working on that film.
Amazing.
There was no rule, nothing said, do whatever you want. That was the instruction by the director, and we have come up with some really cool music. And the story is really well done.
Nice.
And so that is one of the movies. And I'm doing my first Bollywood film
Okay.
this year.
Amazing.
It's called Puppy Love.
Okay.
And the work is going on.
Very nice.
And me and my wife, we are thinking of making an album
How?
this year.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. Does she also sing?
Oh yeah, she's a singer.
Then we're
And
waiting
she's done
to
a lot
hear-
of playback as well.
We're waiting to hear this album. Then maybe we'll call her on the podcast next.
Yes.
Amazing. That's a lovely note for us to come to the end of this conversation. But before we go, I do have one question to ask you, because so many people want to become singers, and this country is filled with talent. But as you said, where do you have a break? Where do you get in? How do you ensure it worked for you going to KM Conservatory? It may not work for everyone. As someone who has broken it quite recently, you've been around for a decade or a little bit more than that. One piece of advice that you could give to our listeners who are singers and aspire to be playback singers, or break an album sometime soon. That's the first question. And the second question, which I love to ask everyone, is if you weren't a singer, what do you think you would have become?
I would be some engineer in some corner of the world.
Thank God you became a singer. Amazing. And that second question, what would you like to say to us?
Yeah, just write songs, make albums, start
Okay.
releasing,
Nice.
and just remember that you have.
You will be noticed is the
Yeah, you will. If the music is good, you will be noticed. And
wonderful thing to
yeah, just one point for all the musicians is, because our work is so public, I think we should carry a sense of social responsibility as well in the stuff that we release and
Lovely.
the content that we write. I think that music has a great power to drive the mob to any direction, and we have seen that in the history. It has
Absolutely.
been happening since. Though we have all the sense of freedom to speak whatever we want to, I think we also should keep that in mind.
So make music responsibly.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun, but don't take it too far.
Understood.
That's all.
That's a nice, hopeful way for us to end this conversation. This has been the Indulge podcast with me, Roman Laishram, and my guest, Nakul Abhyankar. I've been so happy to be in conversation with him over the last few minutes. But of course, I'm not letting him go without singing a song for us. And so let's end this with any song that you'd like to share with your listeners, something that you are very fond of that you could just end the show with.
I'll sing the song which I composed for Love Mock.
Please go ahead.
ನಿನದೇನೆ ಜನುಮ ನಿನ್ನೊಲವೇ ಹೃದಯಂಗಮ ನಿನದೇನೆ ಪ್ರೇಮ ನಿನ್ನೊಲವೇ ಹೃದಯಂಗಮ ನೀನಿರದೆ ನಾನಿರಗೋ ಓಲವೇ ನಿನ ನೆನಪೇ ಕಾಡುತ್ತಿದೆ ಇನ್ನು ನೀನಿರುವೆ ಎಲ್ಲೆಂದೂ ಈ ಮಿಡಿತ ಎದೆ ಬಡಿತ ನನ್ನುಸಿರೇ ನೀನು ನಿನ್ನಿಂದಲೇ ಸದಾ ಬದುಕುವೆನು ನಾ ದಿನ ನಿನ್ನಿಂದಲೇ ಸದಾ ಬೆಳಗುವುದು ಈ ಮನ ನೀ ಜೀವನ.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for tuning into the Indulge podcast, and thank you, Nakul, for taking
Thank you
time
so
out.
much, Omar.
Been an absolute pleasure, and I hope to have you back in my studio sometime soon again.
Definitely, I would love to come here.
Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.